The title of this video may sound provocative, and it is. Many of you have come here seeking to understand the hidden weaknesses of women. The truth is that this approach, in itself, is the first weakness we must recognize in ourselves. The weakness of seeking flaws in others, instead of seeking virtue in ourselves. The Stoics did not believe in weaknesses inherent to a gender. They believed in human nature. And human nature, in both men and women, has universal challenges. If you want to understand others, and if you want to build strong, virtuous relationships, the path is not criticism, but understanding and empathy. This video is a guide for men, not so you can exploit supposed weaknesses, but so you can become a stronger, wiser, and more compassionate man. We will use Stoic philosophy to explore 10 human weaknesses that, by recognizing them in yourself and in others, will give you an unbreakable fortitude and a real capacity to connect. Lesson 1. The need for external validation. If you are worried about what others think, you will be a slave. Marcus Aurelius, The Weakness. We feel a constant need for the approval of others to feel valuable. This weakness makes us vulnerable to manipulation and prevents us from acting with authenticity. The Stoic perspective. Your value is not negotiable. It does not depend on likes on a social network, nor on your partner's praise, nor on the recognition of your friends. Your value resides in your virtue and your character. A strong man understands that the most important validation is the one he gives himself by acting with integrity. By stopping the search for validation, you become unbreakable. The need for external validation is, in essence, the manifestation of an internal insecurity. When we are not sure of our own worth, we constantly look outside ourselves for someone or something to confirm it. This leads us to live a life that is not our own, but a performance for others. We dress to impress, speak to be liked, and make decisions based on what we think others expect of us. This constant search for approval turns us into a social chameleon without our own identity. Stoicism calls you to build an inner fortress so solid that external judgments cannot penetrate it. Your mind is a kingdom. Your duty as sovereign is to protect its peace from the invasion of other people's opinions. A man of character validates himself, knowing that his worth does not diminish if others do not see it. His reward is his own clear conscience, a treasure that no one can take from him. To apply this in your life, make the practice of questioning your motivations. Before doing something, ask yourself, am I doing this because it's right and virtuous, or am I doing it to impress someone? If the answer is the latter, you have the opportunity to choose a more authentic action that is aligned with your values. This discipline frees you from the slavery of opinion. This weakness is not exclusive to one gender. It is a battle that all of us, at some point, fight. Both men and women can fall into the trap of seeking validation in their achievements, their appearance, or their relationships. Understanding that this is a universal human weakness allows you to be more empathetic with others and more compassionate with yourself. Ultimately, true freedom is found in self-sufficiency. When you become the sole source of your own validation, you become unbreakable. Your mind, your character, and your actions align to live an authentic life, free from the need for applause. This internal strength becomes a beacon that guides you, rather than a sail that is blown by the winds of public opinion. Lesson 2. La reactividad emotional. What disturbs us are not the events, but our opinion about them. Epictetus, The Weakness. The inability to control emotions in the face of a stressful event. We react with anger, sadness, or frustration, ceding control of our peace to external factors. The Stoic perspective. Stoicism teaches us that emotions are responses to our judgments. You can feel the emotion, but you are not obligated to react impulsively. A wise man takes a pause between the stimulus and his response. Understanding that others also struggle with their emotions gives you patience and allows you to respond with calm instead of reacting with anger. Emotional reactivity is one of the greatest threats to our mental peace. When something bothers us, it's as if an invisible force controls us, causing us to say things we regret or make impulsive decisions. This reactivity not only damages our relationships, but also leaves us in a constant state of exhaustion. We become slaves to our own feelings instead of being their masters. The Stoic key to overcoming this weakness is the Stoic pause. Imagine that between the event and your reaction, there is a space. In that space, you have the power to choose. Instead of reacting immediately, take a deep breath, close your eyes for an instant, and ask yourself, is this a judgment, or is it reality? By taking this pause, your rational mind has the opportunity to take charge, freeing you from the tyranny of emotion. This practice does not mean you should be insensitive or repress your emotions. A Stoic feels, but does not allow himself to be dragged along. Understanding that a person who offends you is probably doing so from their own pain or ignorance allows you to replace anger with compassion. By seeing that their actions are not about you, but about them, you free yourself from the need to react with anger. This weakness is universal and manifests itself in various ways. A man can react with anger to traffic, while a woman can react with sadness to a comment. In both cases, the problem is not the emotion, but the lack of control over it. Recognizing this allows you to address the root of the problem, instead of just treating the symptoms. Ultimately, true strength is not in the absence of emotions, but in the ability to master them. By training yourself not to be reactive, you become an unbreakable man, capable of maintaining calm in any storm. This newfound control empowers you to be a source of stability for yourself and for those you care about, turning you from a source of chaos to a harbor of peace in relationships. Lección 3. El miedo a la vulnerabilidad. Be brave enough to be yourself, even if that means being different. Epictetus, the weakness, the fear of showing our true emotions, of making mistakes, or of being rejected. We hide behind a mask of strength to avoid pain. The Stoic perspective. True strength is not in the absence of vulnerability, but in the courage to accept it. A Stoic man does not fear rejection, because he knows that his worth does not depend on the approval of others. Vulnerability, shared with a trusted person, is an act of courage that strengthens human connection. Allow yourself to be human, with all your flaws, and you will be stronger. The fear of vulnerability isolates us. We believe that by hiding our insecurities, we protect ourselves, but in reality, we are building walls that prevent us from connecting authentically with others. A relationship without vulnerability is superficial and fragile. True intimacy is built in the space of honesty, where we dare to show ourselves as we are, with all our imperfections. A Stoic does not seek to be invulnerable in the sense of being insensitive to pain, but in the sense of being invincible in their character. He dares to be vulnerable because his worth is not in being perfect, but in being virtuous. The courage to admit that you are afraid or that you made a mistake is one of the greatest manifestations of strength you can show. It is not a weakness. It is an act of integrity. In a relationship, vulnerability is not a weapon. It is a bridge. By sharing your fears or your doubts with your partner, you invite her into a space of trust and honesty that strengthens the bond. Empathy flourishes when we understand that we are all vulnerable, and that true connection is found in that shared humanity. This weakness is a challenge for everyone. Men often feel the pressure to be strong and emotionless, while women may fear showing their imperfect side. By recognizing that this fear is universal, you can be more compassionate with yourself and with others, creating a safe space for authenticity. Ultimately, true strength is not in building walls, but in having the courage to tear them down. By daring to be vulnerable, you free yourself from the prison of perfection and build genuine, lasting relationships. This kind of courageous openness is a sign of a truly secure and confident person, not a sign of a weak one. Lección 4. La tendencia a juzgar. When you encounter an insolent man, Ask yourself if you are judging yourself. Marcus Aurelius, the weakness, the inclination to make quick and harsh judgments about others, often based on our own insecurity or lack of understanding. The Stoic perspective. Stoicism asks us to suspend judgment. Understand that you do not know the path another person has walked. Their actions are the result of their own perceptions and struggles, not a personal offense toward you. By stopping judging others, you free your mind from negativity and become more compassionate. The tendency to judge is a harmful mental habit. When we judge others, we are creating a narrative in our mind that is often incorrect and always incomplete. This leads us to feel superior, to anger, and to resentment. A judgment about another person is, in essence, a projection of our own insecurities and fears. Judging is an act of self-aggrandizement, and it is the main barrier to empathy. Stoicism teaches us the practice of suspension of judgment, epish. Before judging someone, pause and ask yourself, am I judging a fact or an opinion? The fact is that the person acted in a certain way. The judgment is that their action was bad or incorrect. By suspending judgment, you give yourself the opportunity to look for the cause, not the blame. It allows you to see the person as a human being who, like you, is doing the best they can with their own perceptions and tools. Understanding that people don't do things to you, but simply do things, frees you from anger. A Stoic man understands that another person's action is not a personal attack, but a manifestation of their character. By suspending judgment, you free yourself from the need to take things personally and allow yourself to respond with a clear and calm mind. This weakness is not specific to one gender, but is a mental habit of the human condition. All of us, at some point, find ourselves judging. By recognizing that this is a habit you have to break, you become a more compassionate and less reactive person. Your mind is freed from the weight of negativity. Ultimately, true wisdom is not in knowing others, but in knowing oneself. By suspending judgment, you become more compassionate with yourself and with others, and you build a free and peaceful mind. This practice is the foundation of genuine empathy, allowing you to build bridges of understanding rather than walls of resentment. Lecture 5. La aversional malestar. Pain is inevitable, but suffering is optional. Epictetus, the weakness. The desire to avoid any kind of discomfort, whether physical or emotional. We constantly seek comfort, which makes us soft and weak. The Stoic perspective. Mental fortitude is built by facing discomfort. A Stoic trains himself to tolerate discomfort, not to run from pain. Understanding that discomfort is part of life allows you to accept it with grace. Instead of complaining about difficulties, ask yourself, what virtue can I practice in this situation? In the modern age, comfort is a goal in itself. We constantly look for the easiest way to do things, the quickest way to solve our problems, and the safest way to avoid pain. But this pursuit of comfort, in reality, makes us fragile. We become unable to face life's challenges without feeling overwhelmed. Mental fortitude is like a muscle. If you don't use it, it atrophies. The aversion to discomfort robs us of growth. The most valuable things in life, such as love, knowledge, or success, often require us to face discomfort. The Stoic embraces discomfort as an opportunity for training. The discomfort of a physical workout becomes an opportunity to be disciplined. The discomfort of a difficult conversation becomes an opportunity to be brave and honest. This practice is known as Stoic asceticism, and it is not a punishment, but a tool for freedom. By voluntarily exposing yourself to small discomforts, such as taking a cold shower or fasting for a day, you train your mind not to be controlled by its desires. You learn that you are stronger than you think, and that you can live with less than you think you need. This weakness is not exclusive to one gender. All of us, at some point, seek comfort. But by recognizing that this search makes us weak, you can start to make small changes in your life that make you stronger. You don't have to climb a mountain. You can start by taking the difficult path instead of the easy one, by doing something that scares you. Ultimately, true comfort is not found in the absence of discomfort, but in the peace of knowing that you can face it. By training yourself to tolerate discomfort, you become unbreakable. This deliberate practice hardens your spirit against life's inevitable setbacks, ensuring you are prepared for whatever comes your way. Lección 6. La necesidad de tener la razón. The best revenge is not to be like the one who caused the offense. Marcus Aurelius. The weakness, the urge to win every argument, to prove our point at all costs, which often destroys peace and connection in a relationship. The Stoic perspective. Peace is more valuable than being right. A wise man does not need to prove his point in every conversation. He knows that the truth does not need a loud defender. In an argument, instead of seeking victory, seek understanding. Practice the humility of listening, and if you are wrong, have the courage to admit it. The need to be right is an ego that seeks validation in victory. We believe that by winning an argument, we demonstrate our intelligence or our worth, but in reality, all we are demonstrating is our inability to listen and our weakness in controlling our ego. Arguments, when driven by this need, are not a search for truth, but a battle of egos. And in those battles, there are no winners, only losers. Stoicism teaches you that the truth does not need you to defend it. If your point is correct, the evidence will prove it for itself. You don't need to shout or manipulate for people to believe you. True strength is in the humility of knowing that you could be wrong. This humility gives you the ability to listen to the other person, to see their perspective, and to find common ground. In a relationship, the need to be right is a poison. It destroys trust and respect. A wise man understands that in a relationship, peace is not found in who is right, but in the peace and connection that are built. Instead of seeking victory, seek understanding. Instead of shouting, listen. Instead of blaming, take responsibility. This weakness is universal and manifests in all human relationships. By recognizing that this urge to be right is a weakness, you can start to make small changes in your life that make you wiser and more compassionate. You can start by listening to the other person without interrupting, by asking questions instead of giving answers, and by seeking understanding instead of victory. Ultimately, peace is more valuable than being right. By letting go of the need to win, you free yourself from the prison of the ego and build stronger, more lasting relationships. This is how you transform conflict from a battle into a bridge. Lección 7. El apego a los resultados. Do not wish for things to happen as you wish, but wish for them to happen as they do, and you will be happy. Epictetus the weakness. Becoming emotionally attached to a specific outcome, which makes us vulnerable to frustration and disappointment when things don't go as we want. The Stoic perspective. Stoicism teaches us to focus on the effort and the intention, not on the result. You can control your actions, but you cannot control the final outcome. A man with an unbreakable mind does his best and then lets go of the result, knowing that his worth does not depend on the victory, but on his virtue in trying. Attachment to outcomes is one of the greatest sources of suffering. We spend our lives planning and visualizing the perfect result, and when reality doesn't match our expectations, we feel defeated. The Stoic understands that the universe is vast and unpredictable. You can control your ship, but you cannot control the ocean. Attachment to outcomes makes you a slave to an uncertain future. The Stoic key to overcoming this weakness is diligence. You do your best in everything you do. You work hard, plan with wisdom, and act with integrity. But once you have done your part, you let go of the result. You understand that your worth is not in the success of your plan, but in the virtue of your effort. If your plan fails, it is not a failure of your character, but a lesson from the universe. This practice frees you from the anxiety of the future. You don't live in fear that things will go wrong, because you know that your worth does not depend on it. You live in the present, focusing on the effort you can control. This freedom gives you a deep peace and a fortitude that cannot be broken. Attachment to outcomes is a universal human weakness. All of us at some point have felt disappointed because things did not go as we hoped. By recognizing that this attachment is a weakness, you can start to make small changes in your life that make you wiser and more serene. You can start by focusing on the process, not on the result. You can start by celebrating your effort, not your victory. Ultimately, peace is not found in the result, but in the effort. By letting go of attachment to outcomes, you free yourself from the prison of expectations and build an unbreakable mind. You learn that your peace is a constant, regardless of the turbulent changes around you. Lección 8. El impulso de controlar a los demás. You cannot control another's will, but you can control your own. Epictetus the weakness. The attempt to manipulate or control others to act according to our desires, which is a constant source of conflict and resentment. The Stoic perspective. The attempt to control others is useless and a violation of their autonomy. A strong man does not seek to control others. He controls himself. Understanding that each person is free to choose their own path frees you from resentment and allows you to build relationships based on mutual respect, not on control. The urge to control others is one of the biggest sources of conflict in relationships. We believe that by controlling others, we are protecting our own interests, but in reality, all we are doing is creating resentment and distance. The Stoic understands that another person's will is beyond their control. The attempt to manipulate it is a battle you cannot win. The Stoic key to overcoming this weakness is acceptance. You accept that others are free to choose their own path, and that you are free to choose your own. This does not mean you should tolerate harmful behavior, but that you do not become angry or resentful when others do not act according to your desires. You understand that their behavior is a manifestation of their own character, not a personal attack against you. In a relationship, the urge to control is a poison. It destroys trust and respect. A wise man understands that in a relationship, peace is not found in control, but in trust. Instead of seeking control, seek connection. Instead of manipulating, inspire. This weakness is universal and manifests in all human relationships. By recognizing that this urge to control others is a weakness, you can start to make small changes in your life that make you wiser and more compassionate. You can start by listening to the other person without interrupting, by asking questions instead of giving answers, and by seeking understanding instead of control. Ultimately, peace is not found in control, but in trust. By letting go of the urge to control others, you free yourself from the prison of the ego and build stronger, more lasting relationships. This is how you demonstrate true strength, not by dominating, but by respecting the autonomy of others. Lección 9. La ingratitude. He who is not grateful for what he has will not be grateful for what he will have. Seneca. The weakness. The inability to appreciate what we have, always focusing on what we lack. This robs us of the joy of the present and makes us feel empty. The Stoic perspective. Gratitude is a pillar of inner peace. A Stoic practices gratitude daily, appreciating the small things in life. This does not mean ignoring problems, but putting them in perspective. Gratitude anchors you in the present and reminds you that happiness is not something you find, but something you cultivate. Ingratitude is one of the greatest threats to our happiness. In a world of abundance, we often focus on what we lack instead of on what we have. This leads us to a state of constant dissatisfaction and emptiness. Ingratitude robs us of the joy of the present and makes us unable to see the beauty around us. The Stoic key to overcoming this weakness is conscious gratitude. A Stoic takes a few minutes a day to reflect on the things they are grateful for. It can be the roof over their head, the clean water they drink, the food they eat, or the health of their loved ones. This practice trains you to see the light instead of the shadow. Gratitude does not deny problems, but it puts them in perspective. It gives you the strength to face difficulties with a full heart, not an empty one. By being grateful for what you have, you realize that life, despite its challenges, is full of gifts. This weakness is universal and manifests in all human beings. By recognizing that this ingratitude is a weakness, you can start to make small changes in your life that make you happier and more serene. You can start by keeping a gratitude journal, by thanking others for their help, and by celebrating the small victories of life. Ultimately, happiness is not something you find. It is something you cultivate. By practicing gratitude, you free yourself from the prison of dissatisfaction and build an unbreakable mind. This simple practice of acknowledging the good in your life becomes a powerful shield against bitterness and envy. Lección 10. El miedo a la soledad. He who is self-sufficient needs nothing to be happy. Seneca. The weakness, the constant need for company or social validation, which leads us to avoid solitude and to enter into relationships or situations that do not benefit us. The Stoic perspective. Solitude is an opportunity for introspection and self-knowledge. A strong man does not fear solitude. He embraces it. Use this time to reflect on your character, to grow, and to build inner fortitude. True self-sufficiency is not the absence of others, but the ability to be happy in your own company. The fear of solitude makes us vulnerable. In our need for company, we often stay in toxic relationships or in situations that do not benefit us. Solitude, on the other hand, is a gift. It is the moment when you can disconnect from the outside world and connect with yourself. It is the moment when you can reflect on your values, your goals, and your purpose. The Stoic embraces solitude as an opportunity for growth. A Stoic takes a few minutes a day to be alone, to meditate, and to reflect. This practice trains you to be your own source of happiness. You learn to enjoy your own company and not to depend on others to feel complete. Solitude is not the absence of company, but the presence of yourself. A wise man understands that the only person who truly matters is you. By embracing solitude, you free yourself from the prison of need and become an unbreakable man. This weakness is universal and manifests in all human beings. By recognizing that this fear of solitude is a weakness, you can start to make small changes in your life that make you stronger and more serene. You can start by spending a few minutes a day alone, by reflecting on your life, and by enjoying your own company. Ultimately, true solitude is not the absence of others, but the absence of yourself. By embracing solitude, you free yourself from the prison of need and build an unbreakable mind. This is how you become a truly complete person, whole on your own. We have reached the end of this journey. The true strength of a man is not in his ability to dominate others, but in his ability to master himself. The weaknesses you are looking for are not exclusive to one gender. They are universal challenges of the human condition. By recognizing these weaknesses in yourself, you become wiser. By recognizing them in others, you become more compassionate. And by focusing your energy on your own character, you become an unbreakable man, worthy of respect and love.